Good evening and welcome to So the Darkness May Glitter, Queer and Trans Arab Futures. My name is Nathalia Vigil, she, her, hers, and I'm the Executive Director of the Queer Cultural Center. I'm here to welcome you to The Future Is, our 24th Annual National Queer Arts Festival. To honor community care and wellness, this year is our very first all-virtual festival. We really miss being with you, but we're so happy to be in virtual community with you today and with the incredible artists who are truly the future. Today's event is curated by Janine Moghanem. Janine is a Palestinian poet and librarian born and raised in San Francisco. We're overjoyed to welcome Janine as part of a Creating Queer Community cohort and as a first-time curator. I have the joy of knowing Janine, her writing, her passion, and her activism as part of my creative community. And tonight she brings together a beautiful group of queer and trans Arab writers that are very dear to her. Her performances include the National Queer Arts Festival with Still Here San Francisco, Split This Rock Festival, and Lit Crawl. Illuminating her intersectional community through performance is a dream project that she's thrilled to share with her hometown. And tonight, Janine brings that dream to life with a glittery array of interdisciplinary performances by queer and trans Arab American artists as they reveal their visions of a truly liberated future. If you love tonight's show, please encourage people to watch other shows in the festival. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., Valerie Trout brings us the song Sanctuary. It's a soulful song shift, a virtual sanctuary for healing, unapologetic Blackness, joy, and more. And she's going to be joined by her award-winning house music ensemble, Moon Candy. Don't miss it. You can read more about the entire festival and view our festival catalog on our website at www.queerculturalcenter.org. Go there to see more of the commissioned works you can view this month. If you love this show, and if you're an artist that's inspired by the work that you see here, or you have an idea dreamed up, we encourage you to come to QCC's Creating Queer Community program, the commissioning program that helped to make this festival happen. Many of our audience members were artists just like you. So follow QCCSF to keep up with the latest. Lastly, we have audience surveys. Audience surveys will be sent to you via Eventbrite after the show, and you can also find them on our website and a scannable QR code that will be part of this show. These surveys not only help us to ensure that we're fulfilling our mission, they give us information to share with our funders and with you, our community, but they also help us to create programming that you want to see. So please take a moment to fill them out. And now, please join me in welcoming So the Darkness May Glitter to the virtual stage.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to our show, So the Darkness May Glitter, Queer and Trans Arab Futures. I thank you all for attending tonight, and I thank the folks at Queer Cultural Center for their support in cultivating this show. I'd also like to emphasize the land acknowledgement you have heard, which is especially significant going into a show of Arab American artists, as many of us also have origins in lands stolen and colonized. I extend my solidarity and respect to the Ohlone people as the original stewards of this land. You may have heard a lot of born and raised San Franciscans, especially those of color, say sarcastically that we are unicorns, considered mythical creatures by many of the other residents of this city who can't believe that people actually grew up here. Especially now when our city is more stratified than ever and many BIPOC and queer folks have been forced to leave en masse, remaining here does in fact often make me question my existence. Not just who am I, but do I actually exist in this place that renders me invisible? And for many Arabs in America, especially those who are queer and or trans, that question is especially salient. We are invisible until there is the need for a villain or victim. Then we are all too visible, a threat to be suppressed with immigration laws and violent mobs and all manner of aggression, both macro and micro. My BIPOC family know this all too well. But being Arab in America is often to exist in a liminal space, not quite belonging to one place or identity, in between, intermediary. We Arabs and other folks of West Asian and North African descent are familiar with this, as the places we come from are commonly lumped together as the Middle East. There's a lot insinuated by this term. East as in oriental, foreign, mysterious. Middle as in not quite here or there. Straddling the familiar and the unknown, perhaps. Dancing behind a sheer veil, just enough of our cold, darkened eyes visible that one recognizes a human, someone they see as mysterious and desirable, hidden enough that there is much left to the imagination. And because there is much left to the imagination, one is left free to imagine us at their will. Insert stereotype of choice. And what about Arab queerness? It is certainly as old as existence, like every other version of queerness on earth. And like so many versions of queerness once celebrated, or at least accepted, there has been much done since the advent of Western colonization and occupation to silence, erase, degrade, and kill queer and trans Arabs. Like unicorns, our existence is questioned, mythologized. We get this from our families, our peers, strangers, the media, politicians, sometimes even from our lovers, our friends, ourselves, from inside our communities and from outside. How can you be both queer and Arab? Doesn't Arab culture forbid queerness? Isn't queerness a white thing? Why would you want to make yourself more vulnerable when you are already from a marginalized culture? Does being from multiple marginalized communities simply push us off the page entirely? What does the future look like for a queer or trans Arab? Many of us never believed we had any future. Some of us were made to believe we never deserved one. And some, like our sister, Sada Hijazi, who is fiercely and beautifully commemorated by Mariam Bazzi tonight, had their future stolen from them by homophobic, patriarchal institutions. We're made to question our right to exist, let alone be out, put ourselves on display. We are spoken for and spoken about, rarely asked to speak without being tokenized. But Arabs are natural poets and storytellers. Arab storytelling culture is well known throughout the world. And so, along with our other BIPOC comrades, we write our own stories. We write ourselves back within the margins and then explode and destroy them. We refuse to stay within the lines. We write with fury and love and sorrow and devotion. We write to remember, to refuse forgetfulness and erasure. We write because we have always been here and we aren't going anywhere. We write ourselves into the future we deserve, the future that the world seeks to deny us. The future is ours, is our liberation, and so we claim it. I am proud to have curated this show and its amazing lineup of artists. Though to my knowledge, this is the first show exclusively comprised of queer and trans Arab American artists at the National Queer Arts Festival, there are many people who've paved the way to make this possible. I remember what it felt like to find queer and trans Arab community, to find a space where these identities merged, bringing elements of each together into an entirely unique whole that felt both new and ancient, waiting for me to finally be present enough in myself to receive it. I made friends with folks who really were the first ones to be out, like really out, as both queer and Arab in their families, in their communities, in the Bay Area. I saw that visibility was possible, that it could take many forms, and that we didn't only exist, we lived with a capital L, and it was fabulous. I'm immensely grateful to these queer ancestors, both living and past, who have refused invisibility and shame to claim our space. Shukran jazilan. Of course, I also must thank the fabulous artists who have given their time and creative energy to this show. Ahimsa Timoteo Bodran, Tarek Dobbs, Andrea Abikaram, George Abraham, Mariam Bazzi, Amir Rabiah, and Fargo Tabahi. This is a dream lineup of artists who I deeply admire and am honored to work with. If you follow the Arab American poetry and art scenes, you likely know how amazing these artists are. how they bring strength and vulnerability and passion to page and stage and video screen, fusing poetry with visual and performing arts, using their voices and bodies to illuminate the gift of our queer and trans Arabness, and how it informs the ways we live and love and fight and persist. Their work forces the audience to pay attention, to confront stereotype and bias, occupation and colonialism, erasure and assumption. It inspires curiosity and awe, and invites us to imagine the beautiful futures that become possible when we all forge our way towards liberation. I would also like to mention that we artists here are just a sliver of the spectrum of queer and trans Arab America and the queer and trans Arab world on the whole. Queer and trans Arabs contain multitudes, come from a myriad of countries and subcultures, varying races and regions and religions. Although the artists featured tonight come from different backgrounds, experiences, and identities, by no means do we represent the entirety of queer and trans Arab America. If you are so moved, I invite you to research and explore the spectrum of Arab American artists and writers. You are in for an amazing experience. Our show gets its title from the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish in his poem, Winds Shift Against Us. We flash victory signs in the darkness so the darkness may glitter. Living, surviving, and thriving, telling our stories through poetry, dance, and visual art, making space for generations of queer and trans Arabs to come. These are our victory signs. To queer and trans Arab fam around the world, this work is dedicated to you. Enjoy the show.
Emissaries from the Arab world envision a queer trans Arab multiverse. 1. Continually folding, expanding, we tesseract, we multiply and permutate. There are floodings of fluids. The way gas expands, we ignite. We are plasma of blood pulsing and stars igniting themselves in night sky. Our darkness is infinite. We are matter and energy immeasurable by white standards. There are new observatories for us to see ourselves. We look backwards and forwards in space-time. We are new astronomers reshaping astrolabes to chart ancient seas. How deep our water is, salty, brackish, fresh, chlorine. We are all the elements on the chart tessellating, periods pulsing, becoming semicolons, slipping into commas, convulsing into ellipses. So many ovular orbits we synchronize. Our syntax shakes systems, supernovae. There are nuclear reactions, fission and fusion, stray electrons, neutrinos shooting through planets, across galaxies, gravitons. I am seeking you, soulmate, across echoes, black holes, ejecta. Perhaps in this galaxy or universe you are not, but you are traversing planes to reach me. I wait for you in the future and in the past. There is such a presence here. I feel you across nebulae, arteries red-shifting the blueprints of our alveoli, re-oxygenated galactic filaments, plural walls, souls supercluster around each other beyond binary. We circle each other's paths. So many comets entering and leaving our systems, burning and icing cycles, venting and sealing intrastellar seed vaults. Some trace memory of what we were that we might become again. Such cosmic dust and ash, vestigial, swirling. 2. All these stars are ours, so named, as if we belong to them. Familial, as if our destinies are already consecrated, constellated in the systems we visited before we came here, before we, many-vesseled, birthed from waters, primordial, pre- and post-human, these humidities, these wetnesses within and between our flesh, our desires ever darkening, illuminating infinite, our skins radiantly reflective of rainbows our irises can't register yet, so ultraviolet, infrared, heat and hearing, scored and searing, micro and radio waved, X and gamma rayed, our genders galloping, unbound, recombinant, glistening in our resurgent tetrachromacies. I want to feel you fully unbridled in all my matrilineal senses, the scent of you, your lightning, lingering after storm, taste and touch thunderclap, my body recovering, hold me holding you upright, rebalance my proprioception, echolocate these emissions, nocturnal, the electricity between us lights up the dark, static, somatic, we see each other in glimpses, know each other through brief embraces, trace back in blood all that we were before. 3. Our peoples everywhere are Arabness in all peoples, our world a cosmos, most of us knowing our sacred geometries, how we tensile textured fit, tectonic tantalize, geodesic each sphere ensconced within another, our deep down cores pulsing, metallic, liquid, sublimating with callous satisfaction, such succulent subduction zones, mantles of muddled masculinity and femininity writhing, rolling over each other, proof all things melt in queer desire. That proximal magmatic, red-black, crisp crucibled, glowing, bioluminescent, our internal and external navigations, limitless, fractal, frenetic, deca-hectokilo, mega-giga-tera, peta-exa-zeta, yada, deci-centi-milli, micro-nano-pico, femto-atto-zepto, yocto, gracious grams of gratitude, luscious liters leaking, muscled meters massaged, sultry seconds sucked, radiance of appreciative apertures agape, dilated degrees push past absolute zero towards absolute heat, jewels jangling in our celestial crowns. How immense, how infinitesimal. We exist within each other, engulf. We intersect at right angles, acutely flex, canine clench and feline stretch, scissor flakes of folded paper burnt to bone, snow misting into flame, hexagonal, octahedral, our inner chambers and outdoor cathedrals, interfaith congregant full, walls of stone a-sweat, concentric and interlocking, grinding, re-rendered tumbler smooth, slurried, rippling, voraciously veined, arboreal arabesque, vines of verdant vestiture and lace, hollowed hearth, breath upon breath between species, conversant in cubics we grid, four-dimensional, form heavenly configurations, murmurations of symbiosis, each swirl and dot, wave and particle, quantum these calligraphied skins shed and rebed, bred, quills quivering re-inked, re-weld, rethinked, cartographies of cursives relinked, elementary these educations, ancient untaught discursives, now subversive, rescript, every ursine sleeper cell awoken, each exonymed expletive re- and declaimed, reenacted, counteracted, teleplayed in radio waves, only now reaching us. Every system pre- and post this one of writing, speaking, glyphs that glottal, trilled tongues, never stop, hieroglyph and cuneiform, alphabet and abugida, abjad and syllabary, logographies, multilabial, this tongue lapping, committing cellular to memory, mitochondrial, miraculously multiple and mutant, pendulous sways, forests of cherry stems, multi-generational, migratory, our ululation, uvula in perpetual motion, our fingers a blur of hummingbird wings, whipping a whistle register. 4. Centuries from now, millennia, indigo and golden houred, meteor showered, we will be gathering cedar, beating shells, plaiting sweetgrass, tying tobacco, chipping obsidian, smithing silver. None of this is new, us being on each other's shores, beneath dual moons, in each other's bloodlines, our tongues twinned in each other's mouths, fingers 6 or more, and laced. Across many terrains we will carry this message. We have always been travelers. We have always left sand in each other's jeans.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with Queer and Trans Arab Futures, and with all the queers, of course. My name is Tarek Dobbs, and I'm going to be reading a few poems with you today. So this first poem is titled Anti-Drone Niqab Made from Silver. Items are fabricated with silver-plated fabric that reflects thermal radiation, enabling the wearer to avert overhead thermal surveillance. Adam Harvey, Stealthwear, 2013. Love, we've made it from checkpoint to checkpoint. Please don't try to kiss me in front of the window. I prefer the mirror's reflection, a silver lake. I'll never be gold, never the conductor inside the computer or the MRI machine, nor the chime of gold bangles. Silver clinks like Sajat, like Sito could have taught me. Sito's dilated pupils, the darkest deposits in this monochrome photograph, like a Christmas story. Might I become a beloved lampshade with legs? A nimbus cloud cut into a crop top? I will hide my face for good this time. You keep coming back to our final act, kissing in front of the window. You insist, Habibi, please. You remind me, there's power in numbers, like a murder in the winter, waiting in an oak tree. You say, like the crow, we've entered a stone age. The crow elicits an absence of light, a hole in our sky where the brightest reds once hung. Our tool can disappear ahaji, as in, under the table, we scatter silver across our bodies. A good set of silverware, one utensil for hunger and one for vanishing. Habibi, you say, why do you think I've been dropping forks all night? Our dinner, eaten by LED Edison bulbs. Their low wattage still registers in the viewfinder. A wonky clicks. The fire is out. Shoot for safety. So this next poem is a visual poem, and it's titled Poem Where Every Bird is a Drone. And so, there's a tree. There's a tree. Every branch and leaf and bird is made out of the word bird in the tree. And then there's this bottom text, which is the ground, which is what I'm going to read to you. So this is Poem Where Every Bird is a Drone. Man has always envied the bird, and now I envy the murder, and now I murder the murder, and now birds play back live on the air, and now dead birds live in the air, and now men call a murder champagne, and now men call sign murder champagne, and a man's fist pours a glass of champagne, and now his bottle hisses, and was it carbonation or the flutter of wings? And now they bird a house, and now soldiers behind a desktop sing champagne, and now they bird another house, and now champagne, and now they bird until a blackout, and now the tree's murder is its own blackout, and now a wall of murder, and now the conspiracy comes true. A tree in which every bird is a drone. So this next poem is a duplex, which is the form by poet Jericho Brown. My brother was born both ally and combatant, a duplex. All voyeurism begins with surveillance. My brother's voyage ends in the Galilee. I dream of a wall across the Galilee. Brother tunnels under and follows sunlight. A hot light eats his entire body, like his warm gun ate his jacket's lining. His jacket's lining was wool, dead sheep, supposedly still living. My brother does live, supposedly, like his old state. He buys groceries in Nablus some weekends. He buys groceries for Nablus on weekends. I hope this city begins where the state ends. That occupation ends where the state began. All voyeurism begins with surveillance. So this last poem I'm going to read is called A Jinn Hums in Sakhnin. Will you defeat them, all the non-believers, the plans that they have made? My Chemical Romance. But I am planning a plan, so allow time for disbelievers. Leave them a while. Quran 86, 16, 17. Up the Galilee we lay arm in arm, homestay brothers in a twin bed, music of missiles, martyrs or mortars wake or interceptions now, my brother's always unsure. Is it Syrian, Lebanese? In Fajr's kneel and grow, I see the faded welts on his arms. It's afternoon, he stomps down the block, settling into the men's club, soccer and smoke-filled reminiscing, the Adgili bubbles. My brother, he whispers, I'm growing tired of guilt like this. At the foggy barbecue, he laughs. Here there is no work, only wildfire. On the news, we hear the pines planted 70 years ago are kindling, starting to wither, dinners getting later and later. If tear gas and rubber could cure this soil, always a missile would whisper. Tonight, the reporters post a photograph of a doctor bleeding out. Tomorrow, the wounds multiply, go unsewn. My brother hands me his best lighter. I singe the charcoal, it sputters. The Jinn floods out in a flicker of light. The Jinn shows me many moons ago, when the Galilee still stretched, undivided by the hard lines of empire, families crossing freely through its valleys, when the prophet's cave glowed like the crescent sculpture in the town square. I drive us in circles on Nakba Day, reminiscing of night walks home. The Jinn knows it's dazzling, the expanse of this moon, the iron dome in action. Now is the time, it said to me. I must rethink my life. Thank you so much.
I used to work in a lab with rats for a long time, a memory lab. We were trying to figure out what part of their tiny brains could remember how to navigate space, what told them which way to go. A model for humans, a model for curing Alzheimer's, a model for navigation, a model for humanless navigation, a model for drones. I quit shortly after the lab got funding from the U.S. Department of Defense. Did you know that if you're a combat veteran with PTSD, you can get a nonprofit that is funded by the CIA to give you a dog? I want a dog. On the surface of the signature injury, on the surface, circle one option below: mild, moderate, severe. In the framework of it all, the female body in combat reads differently, computes differently, glitches differently. That the female body in combat is not a state of on opposed to off. It's a state of always on, always watching, waiting for the moment of the signature injury, whatever it might be. It costs so much to maintain the body in constant combat. It must consume and consume and consume just to stay awake before it burns it all away too fast. She gnaws at her own fingertips to stay alert, to stay awake, to stay warm. Easy to get cold out there in the desert at night. Hard to maintain the skin sealed to the bones below, to the meat beneath against each blast and every impact. The environment tries to pull it apart, make little entrances for itself, ports to communicate information back to the base, shuttle information back up the chain of command, ports to communicate information, ports to channel energy into the surroundings. Static shoots across the dry desert air. As if it's not enough to just exist in constant combat, command wants the full download the full extra transmission she's tried so hard to keep sewn strictly in. Direct line to read each electric impulse each time a muscle moves. Brace, brace, eyes just a mirror, a high-resolution scan of the surroundings. Breaks in vision noted. Breaks in brush noted. Lack of cover noted. Body just a case for desirable information until they get a new shipment in who must volunteer their own skin cases to protect the TV set stationed in your living room, to enter combat, to take orders, to take the fall. Every body is consumable. Every American body is consumable. There's a whole country back home to manufacture more willing bodies for the volunteer-based army, a country that sometimes agrees to relax its borders in exchange for the combat-ready body, for the soft skin that caves in from every bit of shrapnel, for the soft skull that splits on impact, for the soft brain that bounces back and forth inside the skull, for the soft brain that tears and swells, for the soft brain that after the tears and swells still turns the body back on, still serves, for the soft person who can't remember. On the assembly line to American nationalism, little clicks along the conveyor belt. As of 2017, 230 U.S. troops had sustained a traumatic brain injury, or TBI. TBIs are the signature injury of the War on Terror. They are severe concussions where past memories are erased and daily memory continues to be difficult. You're in an armored vehicle somewhere in Iraq or Afghanistan, on a desert road, not a lot of cover, and your vehicle gets hit by a rocket-propelled grenade, or you drive over the tripwire for an improvised explosive device. There is a blast. You are thrown into the wall or the roof or the ground. Your body hits the wall or the roof or the ground hard. With force, bones break. Your brain moves forward and back against the inside of your skull, like all those really sick drunk driving movies where no one survives that you have to watch in driver's ed when you're 16. It's like that, except you survive the blast. Get up and run. Your body survives, but now you have to cope with becoming a new person. Select a PDA from the moving belt. Slide the PDA all the way into the port. It should not hurt. It should feel comfortable. It should feel natural. There may be initial misfirings. You may see scans of the calendar behind the eyes. They'll feel like dreams. You won't miss any appointments. And remember, it's just a prototype. You will not be satisfied. Head-on collision, double vision. At what point did you realize there was something very, very wrong? What you can't see can't hurt you. Do you remember the blast? There are stories of machines that enter bodies, machines that enter armor, pierce the skin, machines that force their way through, machines that force their way through boundaries, through borders, through armored shells, through skin. Just a few scratches and bruises, bump on the head, nothing major, right major, yes major, right, left major. Keep moving, keep driving, keep fighting. Worry about the bruises later. There is a blast. There is an impact. There is the wall or the roof or the ground. There is a blast, an impact, a force against you. There is the wall, the roof, the ground, the sharp metal ledge. There is a blast. And that's it.
Hi everyone, my name is George Abraham, and I am calling in to you from Somerville, Massachusetts, land stolen from the Massachusetts peoples. I'm going to be reading today an excerpt from my book, Birthright, which came out last year from Button Poetry. For my grandparents, for my parents, for all who cannot return. Letter to be reflected and thrown into the shores of Tel Aviv. I am writing to you from a land where I am already myth. But I suppose you knew that already. You've seen it before, but not through my eyes. With nothing but the wind tethering you here from some other goneness you could imagine. Let me be clear. To other men, this could be the right side of paradise. A foaming line, waiting to swallow me back. Or where I'm from is no longer where I came from, but instead a blood's reckoning. Instead a hunger I cannot afford. Oceanic, only a queer thing can swallow that much of me and still remain a whole and single body. Desire is desire, and here I am, pooled and thirsting. I promise. There is a distance when I call this my city, and they call it theirs, but there is also a distance when I call this mine and you yours. It is a different kind of distance. Here, our men don't have faces. Here, I've taken down that blood-stained flag, and yet Palestinian is the only identity I've ever been certain about. I promise there are men who want me, but cannot stomach the idea of me existing, even if you can't imagine them. Forgive me. I had such little faith in your imagination. But I'm beginning to think of faith as a fogged mirror into which we look and witness ourselves beyond ourselves. And much like faith, we don't pray through mirrors. We understand through them. I want you to see me in this and every light. I'm not asking you to imagine me dead in a man's arms, but I am asking you to see me as always becoming, both I and death of. It's true. At the center of every myth is a loneliness larger than the whole of us, but is it not polyamory if I love myself into a multitude? I'd like to think there is somewhere a you I can return to. I'm trying to say I love you, but I don't have the right mythos for it. I'm trying to say I love him, but he already isn't. I don't want to call this a coming out. That would imply there was ever a border to reckon. If I let this become an elegy, that means I failed. War is war and war alone, and I won't speculate on all the exiles I could inherit at your hands. I want to say, I already forgive you for what is to come. That the opening wound of me forgives the ocean its salt, but this too is contingent upon the promise of violence. Forgive me. I can't fathom the concept of returning to you. I once imagined this a love letter to every person, every country that once mothered me, but maybe I needed this to be, instead, a mirror. This is what I know. I fell in love with Summer like he wasn't a bad decision. We kissed with all our teeth. He bit me, and the blood surfaced, but did not pool. We pulled rivers from each other until we forgot we were human. We slow danced in an empty field as the world ended around us. I am always at the edge of violence. This is how I've constructed mercy. Forgiveness is a sadness I cannot afford. I only know my lovers as seasons that pass through me. Therefore, I am either land or ocean, but never the border between. I too want to be interrupted by daybreak. I too have stained and been stained beneath the same moonlight. I'm not saying I love him. I just want to be worthy of a good fight, I promise. There are prettier ways to lie to ourselves, among ourselves. You ask what the weather's like in my city every time. This is how you've come to understand the distance between us, but what is an obad, if not a lie we tell to convince ourselves morning's coming, bloodless? I loved him, phantasm. Forgive me. I loved him, anthemless and splendor. Forgive us. I lied. What I'm looking for is the opposite of forgiveness. Thank you all. I'm going to close with this last poem, a much shorter poem. Thank you to Janine for putting this all together. I'm really excited to be here with these artists. Ars Poetica, in which every pronoun is a free Palestine. And so it is written, the settlers will steal God's land, and free Palestine will curse the settlers with an inability to season free Palestine's food. A sunburn, the shape of a settler dictator's face on everyone who will claim free Palestine's earth, but not free Palestine's skin soil stained. There. Free Palestine said it. No one really owns anything Free Palestine didn't unwrite to make it so. Free Palestine Sea, Israeli. Free Palestine Sky, Israeli. But not Free Palestine's thunder. The blame will always be Free Palestine's, and so this will be called an accurate history. The expense of Free Palestine's visibility willed in bloodied cloth or paper. Free Palestine's longest suicide. Free Palestine will die in jail and become Israeli. Free Palestine will die in protest and become kite on fire. Free Palestine will call Hamas fable of every headline. Israeli falafel so dry Free Palestine could start an intifada with it. Headline: Israeli falafel so dry Free Palestine could free Palestine with it. No. Free Palestine will never give Free Palestine's self a name not rooted in upheaval. Free Palestine hyphenated by settler flag. Free Palestine hyphenated by settler pronoun. Free Palestine will not pledge allegiance to Arabic or English. Free Palestine will transcend language. Free Palestine will write poems of olive tree and checkpoint, and no Free Palestine to be found. Will Free Palestine name the violence and never the resurrection? Like Free Palestine hasn't survived impossible histories to get here. It is written, the blood will be on Free Palestine's hands. Might as well paint Free Palestine's nails while we're at it. What? Is this not what Free Palestine expected? Did Free Palestine not expect Free Palestine to have the last laugh all along?
Hi, my name is Mariam Bazzi, and I wrote this poem in June 2020 for Sarah Hagezi a few days after she took her own life. And I was thinking specifically about one of the pictures that were circulating of her on the internet right after, where she's laying on the grass. It's very green and the sky is very blue. There's just some ugly houses behind her, and she's like laying down and smiling with her eyes closed, looking up at the sky. So that was the photo I was thinking of. And the poem is called While Sarah Splits the Sea. While Sarah departs for splitting the sea, there's a guy named X, and a guy named Y, and a guy named Z, who respectively A, B, and C minutes after her untimely death by suicide, Egypt guiding her hand, and for the terminal good of the same, are explatificating, which is what you do when you've hit your moral stride, found the syncopated space of your outrage, and have taken it upon yourself not only to explain, not only to pontificate, but to explain and to pontificate, i.e. explatificate, to the iron birdcage wires made of screens, panopticon of us, also sometimes known as the open forum of the world. The first ever, incidentally, to have ever been invented by an army, armies and forums traditionally being antithetical, each to the other's raison d'etre. That Sibak even put aside the fact for a second that she was a insert phrase, etc. And that she was a insert phrase, etc. And that she was a insert phrase, etc. And that verily there's a rhyme and a reason why the great never snoozing deity made women from vestigial bone to be penetrated by the dicks of men who are born men when they, and their dicks are from women born. Although that's not exactly how you're supposed to say it. Not in so many words, of course, because it's not nice, neither polite, you understand, to be talking about your actual dick when it's your actual dick you're talking about, right there in your hand. But anyway, سيبك من كل ده. Let us even suppose it, but for the sake of the argument, يا سيدي, that this Sarah, with her ways, the depravity of chosen target of all the love her newly forfeit body could make. People whose smiles for their and our shame should by all rights be dominable, soured by our ancient acid wrung straight from the liver in this land of ancient river, and yet they live. Digitized forever on immortal lips, facing head on the bald face of a scalding sun, faces darkening in beauteous green grass life, in melanin resistance, and oh, the hurt of the indefatigable heart. Though it be finally, appropriately fatigued. God's case won. يا راجل, ده النبي حبيبنا قالها بنفسه. وإذا بليتم فاستتروا. But anyway, supposing all of that were true, that our giant engineer God, the biggest, baddest Bashmohandis in all the land, had no special godly plan when first he made, from the start of time, mind, of holy mud, first our fathers, and then from some extra ribs lying around, our mothers, of woman and man, man and woman, woman and man. And what? After all this time being ourselves, what do you suggest? Unsanctioned, expensive changes to anatomy? Joy in sex? The dissolution of the family as we know it. يا راجل اعقل, ده الشيطان شاطر. And you, mixed messiah of queer futurity, if you know so much, why don't you tell me this? Could a chick, يا بني آدم, grow outside its egg? Can water reverse gravity, يا بني آدم? Rain up the stepped pyramid, يا بني آدم, leave the base drier than the tip? Could cruelty be ever truly and forever vanquished in our father Adam's son's chests greedy with lust, puffed with dust? Weren't proud knees made to kneel, so that fire on God's word healed to mud? and tell me, you revolutionary, you radical imaginary. Tell me if you've covered this in your fancy foreign books. Could a hand by itself, ya Bani Adam, ever clap? I look at Sora, smiling, and think to myself of all the things I've killed off, not to watch them die. All my unused languages of Arabic, spoken, letter written, newspaper written, joked, dubbed. All the high school relationships gone. All the furniture of my childhood gone. All the future of my childhood gone. Every room that ever smelled of my mother gone. Every room that ever smelled of my mother gone. My father's gravesite, which is his father's gravesite, gone. Mango season, glory of August. The single uncle I like, who wears his pants really high. The occasional knowledge and exploration of the insides of my sister's family fridges. The bouquet of scents at the thresholds of their houses. Getting to grow old somewhere near my twin, so we can see the strength of our ancestors' genes in the wrinkles of the other's face. Reverse emergence confounding biology. Yahya and I, twin gods, birthing our parents from our foreheads in the land of magic and snakes, where the river runs in its solitary direction counter to every expectation, and the airport banners of your return greet you with a lie, plagiarized from a longer lie. Udkhulu Misra aminin, enter Egypt, and from all harm be free.
Cartography. We were born. That is the first miracle. Then we were taught to dream of futures, until those futures did not contain or reflect us, until we found ourselves alone, without a map. We became inventors, then slowly ripened into cartographers. We crafted our own maps. We created courses as we took flight, etched the lines with our lips, shaped worlds inside of worlds, made fluid borders, became fluid borders. So gaze, fix upon the miracle of us. What is tomorrow when you are told you cannot exist? To say it's difficult is an understatement. Take your hands, your tongue, shut your eyes, take a breath, let it go. A kite, watch it dance in the air, its tail being lifted by unseen forces, gusts. That is us, tracing our own contours of belonging, making estuaries our tears, embedding them back into our maps. So gaze, fix upon the miracle of us. Full circle, morn, moon, light. Our future is not only in the stars, but also our electric fingertips. We wave our hands and lightning new countries. We thunder our new names and huddle in the darkening expanse. We laugh with our chosen families and tectonic plates shift. We've gotta become lightning now. When we're gone, someone without a map will fix upon a flashing sky and believe they are loved. They will recognize a chorus of us singing their praises inside of thunder. They will fix on their own hands and know too they are cartographers.
Palestine is a futurism proposition. Dirt is a tautology. Water is a palliative. Slingshot is an ideology. Cactus is a Marxism. Sea salt is an internationalism. Hunger is a neocolonialism. Electricity is a displacement. Anemones are a solidarity. Fishnets are a collectivism. Dirt is a collectivism. Martyrdom is a materialism. Cousin is a materialism. Palestine is a futurism. Futurism is a palliative. Palestine is a futurism. Growth. The nations rot. The nations rot. The nations rot. The nations rot. Yes. God is in the toes we keep. The saltless settlers rotting. I remember firelight. The president is rotting. I'm asking for my life's return. I'm stepping out of time. I douse my face in killing sand. I'm gentle, ruthless, dreaming. Palestine is a futurism. The dream. The dream pulls my memory from a well. I am served memory for breakfast. Inside the dream, I shall have to unlearn the bitterness of the war-hungry capitalist life. The empty meanings of never the extractive truths of the orators. I have been admitted by the dream of God. I have been released from meaning. The sun burns new meaning unto my skin. I am frisked with newness. The dream vomits love, the sludge of abandonment. Swimming in the sludge is a McKinsey consultant. Swimming in the sludges are before they drown. I am the love of the dream embodied. I willingly dissolve my bitter attachments. The dream is a futurism of the spirit. The spirit is an orality. The sludge is a state department. My memory returns me to